Stock surge on Wall Street, key indices hit record highs led by a 16% rally in Nvidia. Nasdaq and S&P's both see their best day since early 2023. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific trade largely higher on the back of strong positive cues from Wall Street. The GIFT Nifty is also signaling a higher start for the Indian market. Crude prices rise on tightening global supply but give up some gains this morning. Brent continues to trade around $83 a barrel. The job on inflation is far from over, says Governor Shaktikanta Das as RBI releases the minutes of the last monetary policy meeting, warns against any premature pivot, asserts that MPC must remain committed to successfully navigating the last mile of disinflation, which can be sticky. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. It's the last day of this trading week. It's a Friday, but we do have a lot of cues to track. So let's do that. And as always, first up, let's take a look at the Asian markets. It's a handover that we've got from the Wall Street and new highs for the US markets as well. That is something which is translating into Asian markets as well. We are seeing Taiwanese index sitting with gains of 0.4%. The Hang Seng is up 0.8%. Nikkei is shut for a holiday today, but it's largely green in the Asian screen. And if we talk about Straits Times, that's the only one which is in the red right now. But GIFT Nifty, that should come up for you on the screen, and that one is indicating that the start for our own markets could be in the green. A 63-point uptick is what the implied open is suggesting right now. And we did see that massive recovery yesterday in our own markets. So it looks like it could be another good day for the bulls as well. Let's talk about the US markets now, because Wall Street ended sharply higher on Thursday. After all the three major averages, they roared in a rally that was powered by Nvidia. The Dow Jones and the S&P hit record high with gains of over 450 points and 2% respectively. The tech-heavy Nasdaq, however, was the big outperformer of the day, surging close to 3%. CNBC's Pippa Stevens gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
The S&P 500 and Dow saw record closes Thursday as stocks surged to new highs after chip maker Nvidia reported stronger than expected quarterly earnings. The Dow up 457 points, the S&P gained 105, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq up 461. Social media company Reddit filed its IPO prospectus with regulators today. The company plans to go public on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol RDDT. Its market debut is expected in March, when it will be the first major social media IPO since Pinterest in 2019. Reddit says its core business is reliant on online advertising, with $804 million in annual sales for 2023, up 20% from the previous year. And sales of previously owned homes rose 3% in January, but remained down nearly 2% year over year. The count is based on closings, so the contracts were likely signed in November and December, when mortgage interest rates backed off their 8% October highs. Despite the strong start to the year, mortgage rates are rising above 7% again, which is likely to weigh on the market. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you in Mumbai.
Okay, that's the U.S. market action. In fact, let us get you some important opinion coming in from Ed Yardeni on the market setup in the U.S. and a lot more. Listen in.
I find myself now worrying about a melt-up. I like slow, civilized bull markets. I don't like stampedes. The problem with melt-ups is, by definition, they're followed by meltdowns. But for now, it's the roaring 2020s, as I said. It all really started on November 30th, 2022, when OpenAI introduced ChatGPT. AI has been around for a while, but suddenly just took off as an investment theme. Tremendous amount of money is being thrown at this, and I think some of that is going to pay off in better productivity. Again, that looks pretty good.
Okay, it's time to get you the final update in our global market wrap this morning. European equities rallied on Thursday, with the French CAC and the German DAX surging over 1%, while the British FTSE settled with gains of about 22 points. The pan-European stock 600 rose nearly 1% to close at a record high, beating its previous peak in January 2022. Europe's tech index, meanwhile, jumped over 3% after Nvidia's solid rally. Okay, all right, that's the global market action. But how will these cues impact our own markets? We have a research team joining in to tell you just that. What's the trade setup looking like? The stocks that are likely to be in the news and the action from the F&O space as well. Hey guys, a very good morning to all three of you. Hormaz, let me come across to you. Well, it looks like it could be a good Friday, but first up, it's Friday.
Absolutely, it's a Friday, and that's the biggest takeaway from all of this. And for all those who were wondering yesterday when the Nifty made its low of 21,875 that it will close the session after making a record high, well, they are the eternal optimists, if I can say, because that's exactly what happened. Because the Nifty recovered almost 375 points from the lows of the day, made a new record of 22,252 and closed above the 22,200 mark. And this came despite the lack of support from HDFC Bank, which turned out to be the biggest point contributor on the downside for the second day running. Now, despite this, for the week, the Nifty is up almost 1%. The Nifty Bank is also up 1% despite the underperformance that it has had. The broader markets, though, are slightly flat for the week. So where did the support actually come from yesterday? It came from Reliance, and of course, it came from IT stocks, the ones that have been underperforming all through the week. But yesterday, it was TCS, Infosys and HCL Tech that contributed to 1/3 of the Nifty's gains yesterday. And these stocks will also be in focus today as well, considering the rally we have seen in the US markets overnight with all the mega cap tech stocks rallying, with what happened to Nvidia overnight. So we'll keep an eye out on all of these. The S&P 500 had its best day since the January of 2023. The Nasdaq had its best day since February of 2023. So we'll keep an eye out on all of these tech stocks. And the GIFT Nifty is indicating a 60-point uptick at the start of trade. So promises to be a good Friday indeed.
Okay, all right. So that's about the market setup. But Sudarshan is joining us now with the list of all the stocks on our radar. Hey, Sudarshan, good morning.
Morning, Sonal. So I'll start with PFC. Will be considering fundraising a proposal on February 29. Vodafone Idea is going to consider fundraising proposal via shares and bonds on February 27. Angel One is going to raise up to rupees 2,000 crore via preferential issue, QIP or other modes. Morpen Lab is going to raise up to rupees 350 crore via QIP. Bandhan Bank has appointed Rajiv Mantri as CFO, who was CFO at City India for last 3 years. RVNL JV has bagged order of rupees 174 crore from Madhya Pradesh Power and Transmission. Eureka Force promoter has sold nearly 9% stake via Blockdisk. MS Singapore PT, Plutus Wealth Management were buyers. Tata Elxsi has formed strategic partnership with Equinox. Equinox partnership is for 5G managed security services for operators. IRCTC has partnered Swiggy Foods to supply and deliver pre-ordered meals at 4 railway stations. Those railway stations are Bengaluru, Bhubaneswar, Vijayawada and Visakhapatnam. Godrej Properties, Bombay High Court has ruled in favor of company with respect to 2 plots in Sanpada, Navi Mumbai. High Court has quashed Sidco's order to cancel allotment and has directed Sidco to accept money within 10 weeks.
Okay, all right. That indeed is a long list. Thank you so much, Sudarshan, for bringing us up to speed. Now, let's go across to Manglam. He's joining in with all the cues from the FNO space. Hey, Manglam.
Well, with the cues that came in overnight, with the record close that we had yesterday, I think the fact that it's a Friday, let's wear some green-tinted glasses for the market itself and tell you that yet another record high. It was weekly options expiry. And this record high came despite the Nifty Bank not performing there. So if you look at it, towards the end of trade, we saw a big recovery there. But from a point-to-point basis, the Nifty ended 162 points higher. The Nifty Bank was actually down by about 100 points as well. The Nifty Bank is now about 3.5% away from a record high. The top contributors yesterday included the auto stocks, the IT stocks, and ITC. I will watch out for the IT stocks today as well, given the big rally that we saw on Nvidia yesterday and the US tech space. The India VIX was down by about 4.5% as well. So that was a big positive with the markets moving higher. The FIs sold in the cash market, but then again, the DIs went ahead and bought it. The FIs bought a lot more in index futures though. Nearly 1,400 crores, of which 1,300 crores were directed towards the Nifty. And the FII long exposure now is at 45%. Remember at the start of the series, it was around 30%. And just a few days ago, it was 40% itself. Next week, the big trigger will be the Feb series expiry. From there, we are expecting today a lot of support around the 22,000 to 22,200 mark because we are seeing a lot of put writing at those levels as well. And on the way up, however, given the sort of, ferocity of rally that we've seen, maybe some fatigue around 22,350 to 22,500. That's where all the call writers are active. The Nifty Bank has strong support around the 50-day moving average. A couple of stocks that entered the FNO ban included the likes of ABFRL and SAIL. Out of FNO ban, India Cement and Canara Bank. The one stock that I'll be watching out for will be ABB. A big mover yesterday and a lot of long positions added.
Okay, so your nerd look is on. Okay, it's off very quickly as well. But thank you so much for joining us today and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. That's the market setup. We'll slip into a short break. Up next, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das warns in the January MPC meet that the drop in inflation is far from over. We'll get to more on that after the short break. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. Well, the minutes of the last monetary policy meeting was released yesterday and inflation remains front and center of the deliberations. Governor Shaktikanta Das warned against any premature pivot, saying that the job on inflation is far from over. The governor said, and I quote, "We must remain committed to successfully navigating the last mile of disinflation, which can be sticky." End of quote. But there is some divergence of opinion on when the RBI needs to move from the current restrictive policy to a more accommodative one. External members of the MPC spoke to CNBC TV 18 and admitted that India's cumulative growth rate since the pandemic has been 4.5%, which they believe is not satisfactory. Listen in.
So the issue, I think, is at what point the restrictive monetary policy has to give way to a more accommodative policy. So I think this is where the differences are. I do think that at this juncture, we need to be careful to make sure that we are on a path that is sustaining the rate at the target level. As I said, towards the end of the financial year, we're again looking at inflation rates slightly going up from the target rate. So I think we are looking at immediate concerns. I fully share the concern that if you take a longer term view, from the pre-pandemic period, the growth rate is certainly not satisfactory.
If we want to achieve our goals and aspirations to become a rich country, don't we need growth of 8%? And when you say that 7% is great, not broken, aren't you being exceedingly pessimistic about India's potential? Aren't you saying that we are condemned to poverty for generations to come? Is that your view? Is that what you want India to be? Or do you want India to become a developed nation? And if you want to become a developed nation, is 4.25% for 4 years something that we should be happy about? Are you saying that's not broken? 4.25% is not a broken growth rate?
Okay, all right. That's the word coming in on the minutes of the RBI policy meet. But moving on, shareholders of troubled edtech firm Byju's are holding an extraordinary general meeting today to oust Byju's Ravindran as the CEO and reconstitute the board. Remember, the outcome will be subject to the decision of the Karnataka High Court, where Byju's has challenged the EGM. Ritu Seng has been tracking the developments and joins in with what is expected at the shareholders meeting today.
Well, it's a crucial day for Byju's, with shareholders set to vote on proposals to remove Byju Ravindran as the CEO and reconstitute the board. As we've been reporting, the EGM has been called by a group of investors led by Prosus, Speak 15, General Atlantic and others, collectively holding more than 30% stake in the company. And these investors have cited concerns ranging from financial mismanagement to concealment of critical information from shareholders. Now, they have demanded management accountability for a whole host of things, like explanation for the ED notice, the failure to resolve issues with Term Loan B lenders, the strategy for the various insolvency cases against the company, delay in financial reporting, and so on. Now, there are 7 key items on the agenda today which are going to be put to vote. Apart from removing Byju Ravindran as the CEO, it also calls for removing Divya Gokulnath and Riju Ravindran from their managerial and directorial roles. It also advocates for the appointment of an interim CEO and the enlistment of a search firm to find a new CEO to take over. Board restructuring is also a focal point, with shareholders advocating for a new 9-member board. Other resolutions which are up for vote include appointing a forensic auditor to scrutinize acquisitions, regulatory compliance and alleged breaches. They also seek to forbid founders from undertaking any direct or indirect transfer of any shares, rights, titles in group companies without shareholders' approval. Now, these resolutions can be passed by a simple majority of the shareholders who are attending the EGM. But remember, whatever decision is taken by shareholders today, it cannot be given effect to until the Karnataka High Court's ruling in the matter, and the court is next set to hear this case on the 13th of March. So an important event for the company and the fate of its founders. We will, of course, keep you updated throughout the day.
Of course, we'll keep coming back to you for more updates in this one, but we'll do one thing. We'll slip into another break. When we come back, we'll get you all the cues from the commodities markets. Stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Well, it's time to talk all about the commodity markets. There have been some moves there. Manisha Gupta is joining us with all the update. Hey, Manisha, good morning.
Morning, Sonal. Thank you for that. Well, I'll start with the crude oil prices, which is holding above $83 a barrel on smaller than expected storage build of a 3.5 million barrels there. So that clearly has led to prices holding where they are. And of course, the geopolitical tensions has been something that has been keeping the prices supportive. But apart from crude, every other crude product actually has seen a decline because of the demand concerns there. Also, when you look at the natural gas prices, we've seen 5% decline overnight. Natural gas now is 30% down in this year until time. And that is because the storage at this point in time is 22% higher than the seasonal normal. So that is keeping the prices under pressure there. If you look at the metal prices, well, the China new home prices have declined the most in 8 months. The China new home sales is down 34% year-on-year basis. And that tells you that China will have to come with further stimulus measures. And that hope perhaps is keeping the markets on metals where they are. So while copper prices gained 0.5%, we've seen sharp decline come in for aluminum. Zinc has seen a decline of 10% in this year until now because of oversupply, lagging recovery, etc. So a very mixed trend is what we are looking at in case of metals.
Okay, mixed trend in case of metals. Manisha, but thank you so much for joining us and making sense of the commodity moves. Let's quickly take a look at the Asian markets before we wrap this show. The Hang Seng continues to do well. We have quite positive cues coming in, though these indices have come off from the high, especially Hang Seng. When we started the show, it was up around 0.8%. Now it's up 0.3% only. So we'll have to watch out for whether that continues or not. The GIFT Nifty, that'll come up for you on the screen, and that one is indicating that the start could continue to be in the green. 65 points higher, that's the implied open for Nifty. Well, with that, we have run out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast, but you do stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next with all the market action.